I just want to preface this video by saying that I don't seek this stuff out. It's just constantly being fed to me through the YouTube algorithm, and it's pissing me off to no end. So I have the Dragon Age Veilguard video that I want to talk about, and I almost hate critiquing the game because I know my critique is gonna get tied up with all this anti-woke grift bullshit, and I feel like I need to make a distinguishing comment on that before I even say anything about Dragon Age Veilguard, especially since the video is probably not coming out anytime soon. I was just scrolling today, as in August 14th, 2025, and I saw a thumbnail saying Western games are doomed, and it had Dragon Age Veilguard, Tosh, on the left, Tosh being a very explicitly non-binary character.
My mother put these ropes on me. She tied me up. Why did she do that? Is it because I didn't fit as a woman? Is it why I don't fit as a woman?
Tosh.
The Shadow Dragons say there are people who use they instead of he or she. They're not men or women. And I like how it feels when I imagine myself that way.
And on the right was, I think, something from Stellar Blade. And it's just so fucking stupid. It's just such a fucking stupid argument and grift that doesn't have any base in reality. Death Stranding 1 and Death Stranding 2, two Japanese games made by Japanese companies, Japanese developers, are two of the most sexless games imaginable. Yeah, there's partial nudity, you get to stare a lot at Norman Reedus' naked body, but there's no sex in it, and sex is discussed almost purely from a scientific, procreative sense, and not in any sort of tantalizing or desired way. I'm still playing through Death Stranding 2, I don't know how deep the theming goes in that regard, but so far it's been incredibly sexless. Meanwhile, let's look at Grand Theft Auto, let's look at Baldur's Gate 3, let's look at The Witcher 3, let's look at Cyberpunk 2077. Isabella is in Dragon Age the Veilguard.
How do you two know each other?
How does anyone know Isabella?
Yes, well, you'll never know Isabella again if you keep that up.
I talk in my Veilguard script about how sexless Veilguard is, how they neutered Isabella and she doesn't talk about sex. She doesn't really talk at all, so it's kind of like, why is she even in the game?
I don't dislike dogs. I just don't like having my leg humped. At least, not without dinner and a drink. And now I've forgotten what I came here for.
And that's a point to bring up, but you can't say Western games are afraid to have sexy characters, and there's a hot character right here. What Japanese games are letting you create a woman character and having her boobs all hanging out, completely uncensored, or letting you pick the pubic hair type around her vulva? This fucking idea that like Western games with their liberal woke ideology somehow hate sex, when, as far as my experience, first of all, there's a distinction between liberal and left, and second of all, leftists like me tend to be some of the horniest motherfuckers out there. I want to have sex with everybody. It's just such a shallow, two-faced grift that tries to position one culture as above another culture when that's just a lie. There's an LGBT movement in Japan. There's socialism in Japan. There's all kinds of stuff in Eastern countries.
The Pequod is the ship in which Ahab pursues Moby Dick on his quest for vengeance. His crew includes Dutchmen, Frenchmen, Spaniards, Portuguese, Icelanders, as well as shipmates from China and India. Countless other people of myriad origins, too. It is arguably symbolic of the multiracial United States. A gathering of souls that transcends ethnic and national divisions, united in pursuit of a singular goal. I can't help but be reminded of Kojima Productions. Wait, judging by your reaction, you've never heard of Kojima Productions? Sam, you can't be serious.
It's just that these mostly white Western chauvinists want to hail Japan and Korea as these sort of holy grails of anti-woke ideology.
However, a rather infamous group of critics on YouTube and other platforms are not excited about this new season whatsoever and are currently calling it and Beastars overall woke propaganda. And these are the same people that are calling Donkey Kong Bonanza woke propaganda for supposedly having a non-binary ape in it. And the ones also currently worrying whether the upcoming Metal Gear Solid remake will be woke propaganda as well.
He knew the electronic age was coming, and so he called out to me.
And you responded.
Well, I didn't have any place else to go.
You couldn't find a job?
Nope. None of the places where they do this kind of high-tech research would even let me in the door.
Why not? I know you've got social problems, but...
Come again?
Nothing. I mean, someone with your talent ought to be able to...
Yeah, well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that I'm black. The Major, though, he doesn't care about what color you are. I've never met anyone like him before. He's different, you know?
Oh, yeah, I know.
I don't think racism's gonna go away even in the 21st century. But I want to work with computers and use them to bring people closer together. In the digital world, it doesn't matter whether you're black or white, American or Russian or whatever. Everybody's going to be the same. That's what I think.
These are some of my favorite series of all time. Metal Gear, Final Fantasy, Dragon Age. They hold a special place in my heart and in my mind.
What's wrong, Shem? Did you get bored and decide to come watch the elves die of plague?
Their explicit progressive political themes and explorations of empathy and power dynamics are part of the reason I've shaped into the person I am today.
When I was still a slave, Adriana was a torment. She would ridicule me, deny my meals, pound my sleep. Because of her status, I was powerless to respond, and she knew it.
Which is why I fucking despise this ahistorical rewriting of these titles as if they've never been woke before. They've always been woke, my friends. You were just too dense to realize the politics right in your fucking face.
Let me start by saying that my history is varied indeed. It has also not been restricted to women. Does that offend you? Perhaps that is entirely up to you. I grew up amongst whores, my dear. Sex is best when done well, and truly, that is my only rule. Do I prefer women? Yes, I believe I do. But you must understand that a certain open-mindedness is sought by the Crows in their recruits, for very good reasons. I have had to do many things in my work as an assassin, some pleasant and many not so. The Crows recruit elven assassins because we are considered beautiful by humans. I'm sure you can imagine the rest. I cannot change my past, obviously. I regret far more than the men and women I have been with, and if that is more than you can bear, well, then it is good we know now, yes? You're a better person than most, I suspect.
I hate that we can't talk about art anymore. You know what I mean? We can't dissect art, see what it does right, what it does wrong, the techniques it was trying to employ. We can't talk about its larger implications on the world we live in, because I try to say this. Some people might say, oh, it's not that deep, which I hate. I hate as an argument because it's such a thought-defeating argument. All art is political. All art says something political, whether you agree with it or not, whether you notice it or not, because all art exists within a political framework. You cannot divorce it from that.
Something very, very important to remember before we go any further with this is that every text is political by nature. As creators and audience, we all exist in a political context. It is inescapable. Even an attempt at creating something apolitical is ultimately political because it is a priori a rejection of the political. Man of Steel, which has some decidedly political motives of its own, is at the very basic level an expensive consumer entertainment product created in a capitalist system. It cannot help but reflect that system, push and pull off of it, any more than a swimmer in a pool can avoid disturbing the water.
If I exist under a political system that says life is not sacred and murder is good, actually, my art is going to reflect that somehow. It's either going to comment on it, or it's going to imply it, or it's going to reject it, or it's going to accept it. But it's going to do one of those things. Just because something doesn't outright say you should vote for this candidate doesn't mean it's not making a political statement. The political statement is implied in its base world view.
Base assumptions are the things that you, I, everyone takes for granted about the world. They are the things that default to yes or no until proven otherwise. These are the things that we believe are just the way things are. In fact, even more than that, they're often the things that we don't even consciously believe because they're frequently things we're completely oblivious to. They're invisible, unquestioned, part of the background. Believing is active. You've encountered something or been taught something and thought about it, and yes, you think that's how things work. Base assumptions, however, are typically passive. They're just there as the rules that everything else is built on. They are one of the major things that form what we consider to be normal. In order to evaluate the base assumptions of a text, it can be helpful to anthropomorphize the text. Think about it as though it were a person and figure out what its priorities and beliefs would be if you could talk to it. This is useful as a device because it can help separate what exists in the text from assumptions about the motives of the people who made the text. That's valuable because while authorial intent can be insightful or interesting, in the end only audience remains, and it's entirely possible for well-meaning people to create problematic texts through accident, inattention, or carelessness.
But these people don't accept or care about that. They just see woman. Is she hot? Is she not hot? Oh, this game is political. If is man, is he black or is he not black? Oh, this thing is political, and it's so fucking stupid. It's so stupid and reductive, and it's a disservice to art as a medium.
So this reminds me of a hilarious tweet you made the other day, Drinker, where you claimed that people are trying to make Superman political and that they should just judge a film as a film without politics. Naturally, this was my reaction to this message coming from you. Really, motherfucker? You see, this is what you do. You and your ilk are the ones that can't judge a film on its own merit and have to stupidly seek out things to be mad about because of your primitive and backwards politics. If you aren't whining about Peter Parker being the only white guy in Across the Spider-Verse, you're calling Alden Ehrenreich the only white guy in Ironheart.
Oh my goodness, what are the chances that the one and only white guy in this show would turn out to be a completely submissive pussy?
Funnily enough, your Nazi audience members don't seem to realize that Alden is Jewish, and that this is further evidence that you consider Jewish people to be white. But I digress. Because of your stupid, simplistic worldview that the heroes and good guys should nearly always be white men, you fail to recognize that this movie, like most art, is political. You somehow miss the fact that Superman sparks an international conflict by stopping an obvious pastiche of Israel from invading an obvious pastiche of Palestine. It doesn't get more political than geopolitics. But because you're a 17 IQ culture warrior, you think politics is when a woman is in a leadership role or a drag queen is cast in a show that stars a black superhero. This film is also about an immigrant, something Gunn states explicitly. Given Trump almost assuredly became president due to the desire of his followers to kick immigrants out of my country, you can also argue that this film is pro-immigrant. Another political stance. But like most of you racists, including the president himself, when an immigrant looks like a white person, all of a sudden immigration is okay, and that's why you didn't notice it, Drinker, because Kal-El, a literal alien, looks like a white guy.
You know, half of these worldviews don't make any sense. They're just kind of like a bunch of hodgepodge ideas that that you can just throw at a wall. Anti-woke, 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 and it's just like, oh, this woman, she's woke, but this other woman that's in a very traditionally masculine battle-focused role or whatever, she's not woke because she's hot, I guess, but these other hot women are anti-woke because this game sold a lot.
And this is probably because none of them know what the word woke even means, which is why the easiest dunk for people arguing against anti-woke losers on the internet is to ask them to define that word, which is usually met with a swift retreat. Which is why it's curious that the cynical Grifter has decided to call Superman not woke, likely due to him sensing the film would be well received and make a lot of money. You know, something that goes against his mantra of woke thing bad and will fail. In other words, go woke, go broke, but if it didn't go broke, then it wasn't woke. I've noticed this myself, that when I gave examples of films that were woke but didn't go broke, the cope has been to suggest that those films were not woke. I still receive comments on my short from people claiming movies like Zootopia weren't actually woke. You know, the movie that's a thin allegory for race relations and how we should accept each other despite our various differences, a film that features a villain who is explicitly a prey supremacist. Yeah, very not woke, Sesshomaru 1, you fucking idiot. I swear, you people have an incredibly difficult time understanding political themes in art. It's almost like you have zero media literacy or something.
I pride myself on, I'm an English major, I pride myself on being able to dissect and deconstruct art and really try to understand it, where it's coming from, where it's going. I have a lot of games that I agree with politically. I agree with Final Fantasy 13 politically, and I hate that game. Final Fantasy 13 is about a group of ragtag anti-establishment anarchists going up against a zealous religious system that seeks to subjugate them and literally deport them to another world. It evokes imagery of the Holocaust.
It's an out-and-out massacre. Those people won't even live long enough to die on pulse.
That was the idea.
What?
Sanctum logic. They conjured up the purge to eliminate a threat. I mean, why carry the danger all the way to Pulse? Why not just stamp it out here? Execution masquerading as exile. That's all the purge ever was.
Relocation to Pulse. How does the government get away with pulling crap like that? And you knew this was gonna happen?
The purge was PSICOM. Private Sanctum troops, not the Guardian Corps.
PSICOM, Guardian Corps. Soldiers are soldiers, aren't they? Pulse Foul C and their lessee are enemies of the state. Tell a soldier to kill an enemy, and you really think it's gonna matter what uniform he's wearing?
And I think on that level, the game is thematically tackling so much. And I agree with the game's prescription that you should rise up against such an oppressive system.
On behalf of Cocoon citizens, I would like to thank our brave Pulse pioneers and express our best wishes for a successful relocation. Your noble and selfless sacrifice ensures the continued safety and peace of our society. Were it not for this remarkable gesture, every resident of Cocoon, your family, your friends, your neighbors, would be exposed to the dangers of the world below. By choosing to leave Cocoon and participating in this migration...
Migration? More like extermination.
Huge.
However, Final Fantasy 13 is dog shit. But that's my point, is that just because I agree with the game's political theming and message doesn't mean I have to like the game. Same as just because I disagree with a game or movie's political theming or message or political implications doesn't mean I have to necessarily dislike it. I think what made Dragon Age Veilguard suck so badly is that it didn't want to take a political stance on anything. Instead of having such deep political intrigue filled with factions with their own desires and goals and political motivations, they instead dumbed it down to the point where no, we're just fighting world-ending cultists who are just bad for the sake of being bad, and none of it really matters. It's just good versus evil. There's no real depth or nuance or sense of understanding there. Dragon Age has always been a very deeply political game.
The Chantry itself must be overturned. There will always be mages born in Thedas. But Templars are made by men, and they can be unmade.
Why does this matter so much to you?
You saw Sir Auric's plan. How many Templars would prefer that every mage was a mindless, drooling babe? In the Circle, they tell you day and night that magic is sin. A mark on your soul of the Maker's hatred. But for all the talk of demons, the most common death I saw for a mage was suicide.
There are literal dialogue choices that you get in Dragon Age Origins that you don't get if you're not playing as a woman.
You there. Women do not frighten like little boys. Tell me your name and I shall tell you mine.
As a male commoner dwarf, you even have an extra dialogue option during the Origins section where you can sexually harass another female dwarf.
Get away from me. I'll tell my father you tried to violate me. I would sooner lie with a nug.
You don't get that option as a female dwarf, which is like, Is that not political? Does that not say something about our society or about our perceptions of society when Dragon Age Origins was created? The base assumption here is that women are straight, or more likely that women don't sexually harass other women. And whether it's correct or incorrect doesn't matter. The point is, it's inherently political. It's inherently about power dynamics between groups of people. And it's an assumption that would go invisible if we didn't call attention to it. But that doesn't mean it's less political somehow. And so it pisses me off to no end to see all these fucking grifters taking a series that I really, really love, Dragon Age, and turning it into this clown show of discourse that has nothing to do with the actual substance of the series. It has nothing to do with the actual substance. And yes, I agree that BioWare dropped the ball heavily with Dragon Age Veilguard. I can't stand Veilguard. I think it's a beautiful game. It's absolutely gorgeous. Graphically, technically, I think it's amazing. But I think Veilguard decided to do away with every single thing, including the explicit progressive political ideology that made Dragon Age what it was. Dragon Age was a story about race.
Centuries ago, when the Dalish first came to this land, a tribe of humans lived close to this forest. They sought to drive the Dalish away. Zathrian was a young man then. He had a son and daughter he loved greatly. And while out hunting, the human tribe captured them both.
The humans tortured the boy, killed him. The girl they raped and left for dead. The Dalish found her, but she learned later she was with child. She killed herself.
It was a story about sexuality.
My mother's stories curdled my blood and haunted my dreams. No little girl wants to hear about the wilder men her mother took to her bed, using them till they were spent, then killing them. No little girl wants to be told that this is also expected of her once she comes of age.
I see.
No, you don't. You really don't.
It was a story about gender.
You don't have to pass for a man to be a mercenary.
I'm not passing as anything.
In Kunadar, Krem would be an Akunathak. That's what we call someone born one gender but living like another.
And Kunari don't treat those Akun people any differently than a real man.
They are real men, just like you are.
Maybe your people aren't so bad after all.
It was a story about a lot of these things. It was a story about political intrigue, kings and monarchs, and are Darkspawn truly capable of reason, or are they just inherently corrupt and evil? And what should we do about that? And then after Dragon Age Inquisition, with the introduction of the Venatori, suddenly the game became all about, fighting gods and doing away with evil, that it's evil to its core, and there's no talking it through, there's no discussion with it, there's no nuance, there's no understanding, it's just good versus evil. And that is at its core the problem that I have with Dragon Age Veilguard, aside from the gameplay changes and whatnot. And so, I wish we could have that discussion. I wish we could talk about the game as an art form instead of having this stupid anti-woke grift fucking bullshit that's literally playing cover for a government takeover where, we have the president calling stuff, we have President Donald Trump calling stuff woke while he's firing thousands of people from his job, literally black bagging and kidnapping people off the street and taking over cities. We have him with his vocal support, and the president before him, President Biden, don't get it wrong, sending so many of our tax dollars to fucking Israel so they can continue killing and starving kids, women, and men, non-combatant men, overseas, and just destroying entire generations of people with our tax dollars. And that's, it would be woke to not do that, I guess. It would be woke to not blow up children and starve them. And like, these guys play cover for it. There's no surprise that a lot of the, anti-woke grifting types are so hook, line, and sinker for the government narrative on a lot of these the atrocities that are happening. Art is always connected to the physical world. It's always connected to our reality, whether it's fantasy art or nonfiction. It doesn't matter. It always says something about our world, whether it's explicitly saying it or just implying it.
I prefer the company of men. My father disapproves.
I'll need you to explain that.
Did I stutter? Men and the company thereof, as in sex. Surely you've heard of it.
This is not exactly news, Dorian.
And why should it be? Why should anyone care? I have no idea.
So that's what all of this is about? Who you sleep with?
That's not all it's about.
Dorian, please. If you'll only listen to me.
Why? So you can spout more convenient lies? He taught me to hate blood magic. The resort of the weak mind. Those are his words. But what was the first thing you did when your precious heir refused to play pretend for the rest of his life? You tried to change me.
I only wanted what was best for you.
You wanted the best for you. Your fucking legacy.
I just needed to get that off my chest. I'm not going to be finished with the Dragon Age Veilguard video anytime soon, and this discussion or lack thereof has genuinely pissed me off to no end. Man, anger is a good way to distract yourself from everything that is terrible about life. Free Palestine. Take care. I hope everyone's doing all right. And keep me in your thoughts. I've been really struggling lately. Anyway, I'm done talking. Goodbye.
But I can't even escape this shit in gaming, and if the West, spearheaded by the United States of America, keeps circling the drain the way it is, I may end up losing my ability to do this professional clown act online one day.
Am I allowed to ask about the thoughts on political movement happening between the US and Canada? I mean, you could ask, but I won't. Dude, I don't know anything, dude. The only thing I know is, like, what's in front of me in this monitor. I don't know anything that's going on in the real world, ever. Literally ever. So my point is, if you ask, I don't have an answer because I don't know. I don't really keep myself informed with, like, political stuff.
And you maybe are not interested in politics, but politics is interested in you. As cringe as it is to say, it's true. Ask all the dead people throughout history.